Introducing Zaxby's new chicken finger tacos. One with pico and creamy chipotle ranch, and the other with bacon and avocado ranch. Chicken expert since 1990. Taco expert since now. Woo, saucy! Zaxby's.
Back here on the Northland Sports Page, we are live at Hoops Brewing. Come on down. Northland Sports Page continues till noon. And then at noon, it's Monster Weekend kickoff. The Harbor Monsters and the Ozarks Lunkers tonight at 7:05 at the deck. We'll preview that. The Harbor Monster players will be here. Good beer, good banter, etc. Dave Cook, you got to love this. This is a topic you love to death.
Well, not just love the topic, but love the guys we're going to be talking with. I mean, summer hockey we've talked about in the past, and we've talked about it with Kasey before, and we've talked about it with Steve before. Well, we figured let's get them together and let's just have some fun.
Right, we'll try to do it in chronological order because Kasey Yoder's got a tournament going on currently. Steve Pitoscia's team is going to be involved in one next week. So, Kasey, let's start. The Northern Exposure Tournament is here again. Tell us how things are going so far.
Things have been good. We had a good first day yesterday. It's the 18th year of the tournament, which is pretty crazy. But we have 54 teams from around the country again, and beautiful weather always adds to the experience for everybody, so it shows Duluth's best side.
I always find that interesting because talking to Steve Pitoscia and talking to Dave Cook on the regular, they always talk about how nice it is to be inside a cold arena when it's warm outside, but you're saying the beautiful weather helps you.
I think it does, and we get a lot of teams from Arizona and out west, and they love coming here and having it be so cool. So
you know who really loves it is the hotel staff because guys can dry their gear outside and it doesn't smell as bad.
I was going to say the odors in area hotels
the good weather.
are a little higher quality, no doubt. Speaking of high quality, this has been a high quality tournament for a lot of years. Tell everybody who may not know how this Northern Exposure Tournament came to be because it's got deep roots in the community. We were live at Heritage, I think, a year ago to talk to you about it as well. Tell us all kind of the story of the Northern Exposure Tournament in general.
Yeah, we started at Brendan Flaherty and I did like 2005, I think. There's a team out of Arizona called Team Northwest who's run by Todd and Pam Collins, who are from Duluth. So they were looking for a reason to come back home during the summer. So we partnered up with them and kind of got things going. And I think they've been up every year that we've done it. They're here again this year. So that was kind of the foundation of it. I remember early on it was trying to convince teams to come and play, and now we have teams that we have to turn away every summer just with limited ice. So it's grown and it's been fun to do, and it's always good to see the Collins family get up here too.
Right. Now, I know that a guy that works at your tournament, Dave Cook, is one of the public address announcers. He shouldn't have very many questions about the tournament, but at the same time, I see him really kind of antsy to get involved in the conversation. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to get involved in the conversation rather than just sitting here, right? So, Case, here's the question I have about the tournament. Now, there have been all kinds of players and all kinds of teams come through. Like last night, I got to see the Machine, and the first time I saw the Machine, I believe there was one Zach Parisi on the oldest team for the Machine. And I'm wondering, over the time, what players have you seen? What has stood out to you over time?
I wish that we would have had a list. We should have started it when it first started. Back then, nothing was on the computer, so we used to do everything by hand, printed rosters. So it's been hard to track. We should have a list on our website of all the players. An interesting one, we used to have teams come out from Alaska. A guy named Gordy Morgan came for maybe 4 or 5 years, bring a few teams, and he texted me this summer and said that one of the girls that used to come out here and play in the Northern Exposure played for the Minnesota PWHL team.
Nice.
And was on that team that just won the championship there. She was an Alaska girl, so
that's awesome.
I'm sure if we were able to go back through, there's been plenty of kids that have stopped by and played. Yeah. But yeah, the first year I think the oldest kids were 89s. So there's been a lot of players that have come through.
Wow. Those are people only 10 years younger than me.
Well, I was talking to Dana last night, and I said, yeah, I think I have some 2014s. And she went,
she probably looked at your shoes and went, yeah, I know, buy new ones. But anyway, I've got kind of a two-part question. First of all, you mentioned your website. If people are listening and say, hey, I want to get involved in the tournament next year, it's obviously a little late because it's going on as we speak for this year. But if people are interested for next year, talk about that website and where to go to learn more. And then my second part, you got hockey gurus using hockey terminology. Tell listeners out there who the Machine is, because you both made reference. I assume it's Shattuck.
They're another team like the Blades.
But as I heard the Machine, I wanted to look at Steve and go, Bert Kreischer was there? I didn't understand that part. So enlighten that on both ends, if you will.
Yeah, so the Machine is a group out of Edina area. They play out of Minnesota Made. They've been coming up for many years. They always have good teams. They do a really good job there with their program. And then as far as the tournament goes, it's a long website URL. It's Northern Exposure, AAAhockey.com. But I think you can just Google it and it'll pop up. So we always like to get new teams. It's a pretty competitive tournament, and we try and keep that up. But
So as a piggyback to that question, is new teams equivalent to more teams, as in it's growing, or is it new teams, somebody maybe doesn't play this year, so we want to replace them with team X, Y, or Z?
yeah, I think the latter. There's not a lot of room for growth. We're pretty capped out with ice and what we can handle. But teams will take a year off, go do something different, come back. So there's always openings if people want to get in. We try and make it work.
So, Steve, I want to get you involved in the conversation a little bit. Summer hockey, summer AAA hockey in particular. How should kids utilize this time coming to tournaments like the Exposure to get better? What can they learn in AAA?
I just think that they should have fun with it, enjoy the relationships and people that they meet doing these sort of things. I got a cousin that lives in Colorado playing on that Team Northwest this weekend that's up here, and he's done it the last few years, and it's, he keeps, it's so easy nowadays with smartphones and social media to keep track of people and stay in touch that those relationships are probably the best part of it. At least growing up playing this kind of stuff, that's the stuff that I value the most, are the relationships that was able to foster back then and still carry on to this day. So I think that's great. As far as getting better, it should be a stress-free time for kids in the summer, and so hopefully they're playing for teams that are letting them enjoy and have fun and experiment a little bit, and not really worrying about the wins and losses in the summertime, and just allowing them to get better.
Sure, Case, what do you think? How can a kid utilize tournaments like this in AAA hockey in general?
Yeah, I'm with Steve. To me, it's all about the relationship building. You get to play with new kids, meet new kids. It's people you'll see around the rink for many, many years. And completely agree. It should be positive. It should be fun. It shouldn't be about the trophy chasing. Just come up here, enjoy the experience. More hockey is good, but there is a limit to that too. So I think a lot of the teams that we get come together for this tournament, that Team Northwest, for instance, they only play in this tournament. I really like that model personally, where they're not spending their whole summer in a rink.
Right. And that kind of begs itself to my question, because we're talking with Kasey Yoder and Steve Pitoscia. Kasey, of course, tournament director for Northern Exposure, the hockey tournament this weekend. Steve Pitoscia, you've been everything on these airwaves before, but right now you're wearing the cap of head boys hockey coach at Duluth East. I want to ask a question that both of you can chime in, because my topic is balance. And it's always ironic that a guy with horrible balance loves to talk about it, but I want to ask how much summer hockey is too much, or what's the right amount? Because, Steve, you just said stress-free time. We've all talked about, we love the multi-sport athlete, somebody that might be getting ready for football, whatever fall sport they might be in instead, or, they maybe just played a spring sport and they do it a little bit in the summer. What's the right amount in your opinion? Because I'm one of those guys that I appreciate summer hockey, because I don't think you can live here and not. But at the same time, in the summer, I'm a baseball fan. In the fall, I'm a football fan. I kind of go with the student athlete to whatever sport they're in, where you guys are big on what they're doing in hockey. So what's the right amount, in your opinion?
And I have an 8-year-old sitting over there, so we're just starting to try and navigate this whole thing. And it's very hard, because there are kids that play all spring, summer, and fall, and you don't want to see your child fall behind because they're not in the rink all summer.
Right.
So for us, the rule that we've kind of adopted is 2 weeks for every season played is what we're looking to do on the ice. I think it's a good balance. By the time they get to Steve's kids' age with the high school kids, then they're playing a little bit more year-round. But 8, 9, 10, 6 weeks of hockey over the summer, spring, summer, and fall, to me is a good amount. So that's how we look at it.
Yeah, so number one, I think the multi-sport athlete is the most important thing. I loved playing baseball. I loved playing football. I loved playing basketball, quite honestly. I didn't
love when you did, but I digress.
Until the schedule didn't allow for it anymore. I just think that you only get one chance to be a kid, and you can't take that opportunity away from them to be a kid, And so at the same time, that's where it becomes kind of a personal thing for the family and that kid. These young kids have big goals, and to reach those goals, it is competitive, and there are, like you said, there are 8-year-olds out there with a shooting coach already. You know what I mean? And so, but at the end of the day, you're just trying to raise a good human being, and sports is kind of just a good, area to help do that, I think. And so if that's, Don Lucia, I think, said it best probably 25 years ago.
Hey, you did something right. There you go, Dave.
When he said, if any of you are getting your kids into hockey for that college scholarship, take them out of hockey today. Save all that money you'd be putting into hockey the next several years. You'll have your college scholarship, right? And so as long as the kid is doing what he wants to do, I think it's fine. There are some kids that they do love just being on the ice. I know in our program, what we're doing in the summer for the Pee-wees and Bantam kids, we go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the morning for a couple hours. We started at the end of June. We'll end in the middle of August, and it gives them their weekends to go to the lake. It gives them, their evenings to play other sports, but it still gives them an opportunity to get on the ice and play hockey if they want to play hockey and work on skills. And we spend an hour working on individual skills, and then we spend an hour of competition stuff, whether it's small area games or scrimmaging or whatever, just, because it's got to be fun for them, because none of these kids lay in bed at night dreaming of skill development, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all involved in this because we loved the game. And so I think it's the biggest thing, and it's one of the things that I think summer coaches really offer a lot to kids, is just that love and that passion so that they can have fun if they allow them to have fun.
Well, I want to follow up with something that you said, because you talked about, and you guys both did it kind of tongue-in-cheek, was you do hear about 8-year-olds that have shooting coaches already. Steve, as a high school coach, when you hear that, do you think, boy, that kid's going to be the next big thing? Or do you wince and think, this kid might not love the game, but it sounds like his parents may overlove the game? If you hear of somebody that young, that into it, what's your first thought?
Well, I never think it's going to be the next great one, because I can't tell you how many superstar 12-year-olds, and Kasey can attest to this too from his time coaching in Orno. How many superstar 12-year-olds that never even got a sniff of high
Those should be
school
oxymorons,
hockey, right?
superstar and 12-year-old.
But right. You know what I mean? But, self-proclaimed superstar or parental proclaim.
Like Dave Cook.
But it just, at some point, the game weeds everybody out, and, that 12-year-old might have been really good when there were just, he was the biggest 12-year-old on the ice, but eventually the other kids grow up, and the curve kind of matches, and everybody kind of ends up where they're supposed to be, I think, at the end of the day.
So, Kasey, I want to go back to you, because the Northern Exposure Hockey Tournament is obviously already underway, but people may be just hearing about it, tuned into the show right now. There's still plenty of hockey to catch. Tell them about that.
Yeah, for sure. The rest of the day, there's games going on until about 8:30 tonight at all the rinks that have ice in the summer. So Heritage and Mars and Duluth, and then Proctor, Hermantown, Cloquet, Saha, and Westman, and then we'll kick back off with the championship round games tomorrow. It starts at 7:30. It'll go till about 4, and it's free to get in if you want to cool off and watch some hockey.
Perfect. You can't beat that experience or that price. And then, Steve, I know Dave got you involved in the conversation earlier, and we just kind of took off from there, but I wanted to get you involved chronologically, because part of the reason we wanted to have you this Saturday is because by the time we're on the air again this next Saturday, you'll have played in the tournament that's coming up as well.
Yeah, you had Dave Riles on, I think, a week or two ago.
A couple weeks ago here, yeah.
Too, and they put together just a tremendous event up there. We used to travel to the cities for a similar event, but the amount of hockey we get to play and the teams that they've started to attract up here, it's they've done just a great job. Proctor has of building this Summerfest, and we're real excited to play some games again. Finally.
I was going to say, give us, as Kasey did with his tournament that's ongoing as we speak, give us a taste of some of the teams that will be there.
We'll Monticello, Northern Lakes, Coach Randolph will be playing those guys next Saturday. We're looking forward to seeing Coach. St. Cloud Cathedral's coming up. Totino Grace will be up. I believe Benilde comes up. I can't remember
plus
all
the
teams, but
Proctor will be there.
Denfeld, Proctor, Hermantown plays in it.
That's a really well-rounded.
I was going to say, lots of good stuff there. That's a pretty good agenda of teams, if you will. Dave Cook, I know this topic is your baby. I give you the last question.
Well, and this is the reason I'm so excited to have both of you here. Brendan started the tournament. You helped coach with Brendan. I think it's really interesting to see how the coaching tree, how Brendan's coaching tree grows. So I just want to thank both of you for being a part of it and allowing me to be a part of it too.
Yeah, well, I mean, he holds such a special spot in my heart. He brought me to my first ever state high school hockey tournament game. So, and he coached me in Bantams, and it's great to be associated with Brendan any chance I can.
Yeah, agreed. Completely agreed. And appreciate you mentioning that, Dave. And yeah, there's most people I still know around town are through Brendan and through hockey.
Right.
So it's a good community.
Yep.
Yeah, his legacy lives on. If you even mention Mars Lakeview and don't think of Brendan Flaherty immediately, you're doing it wrong. That man has left a legacy in this community that is never going anywhere, and the hockey at that beautiful rink is why.
Hey, as long as we're all here, it's not going anywhere at all.
No question about it, but we do have to go to break. Thank you both. Kasey, Yoder,
Thank
it's
you,
always
guys.
good to see you. Steve Pitoscia, you and I talk too much, but it's good to see you again. Jay Hagen is next, episode 3 of 5 Guys in July, and then Brian Timm, the PA voice of the Duluth Huskies. They're all here. Stick around. The Northland Sports page continues. We will.
Chicken tacos should only be trusted to chicken professionals. That's where we come in. Introducing Zaxby's new chicken finger tacos. One comes with pico de gallo and creamy chipotle ranch. And the other comes with bacon, lettuce, tomato, and avocado ranch. Chicken experts since 1990. Chicken taco experts since now. Order yours today in the Zax Rewards app. Woo, saucy! Zaxby's.
We'll be right back. And we are back here on the Northland Sports page. Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook, soon to be joined by Jay Hagen as it is time for episode 3 of 5 Guys in July. Dave Cook, I have no idea what number episode we might be on, but we get to keep going thanks to our great sponsors, of course.
Absolutely. The original Arola Architecture Studio. They helped carry us through, Brian, when things didn't look all that great. Without Ryan, we'd have been in a little bit of trouble. Hoops Brewing, where we are right now. Mike Regan at Christensen Group Insurance. The Blackwoods Group, including their locations on London Road, Tavern on the Hill, in Proctor and into Harbors, and until Thursday, Blackwater right
Absolutely.
downtown.
Get on down to Blackwater before they close their doors on Thursday. Again, the whole community has expressed a lot of gratitude towards them. Let's do it for 4 more days.
Mount Royal Bottle Shop, Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies, Comfort Systems of Duluth, Kohler Toyota and Kohler Hyundai, Advantage Emblem and Screen Printing, Krause Heating and Cooling, your Carrier HVAC authorized dealer, and Assisted Living Locators. You can reach them at www.assistinglivinglocators.com/Duluth.
So 1,000 times thank you to all of our great sponsors. We appreciate everything because we get to do this each and every Saturday, and it's 2 of the most fun hours I know that Dave and I have. And now that the Harbor Monsters are involved with Monster Weekend Kickoff, let's go ahead and make it 3. Speaking of 3, it's episode 3 of 5 Guys in July. Jay Hagen is here. Jay, good morning, sir. Good to see you.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm having a great day here.
It is a
At
very
Hoops,
good day
so.
here at Hoops. Come on down. It's 2 for 1, as Brian Timm anointed it, breakfast beers, and some of the folks here are certainly partaking. We encourage more of you to do that, as, again, the Harbor Monsters will be here at about noon. Their show goes until 1, and then they'll have a game tonight with the Ozarks Lunkers, 7:05-ish, if you will, at the deck tonight, and they're actually hosting the Duluth Huskies as well. It's kind of a payback, if you will. The Huskies had the Harbor Monsters out on the 4th of July, so some Huskies staff members will be at the deck tonight, and the owner, Mike Rosenzweig, will actually be doing the coin toss tonight, so it'll be fun to see him again as well. Jay Hagen, it's good to see you again. Listeners that listen to this show on the regular probably know you by now because they should. But for those that are tuning in for the first time and don't, before we get into what you're going to do today with episode 3 of 5 Guys in July, let's establish who you are and what brought you into this mix, because Dave and I were talking about this is year 3 of 5 Guys in July.
Yep, it must be successful for on our 3rd
That's
year,
right.
right?
That's right.
So my name is Jay Hagen. I'm the Veterans Memorial Hall Program Manager down at the St. Louis County Historical Society, and our mission is to collect, preserve, and disseminate the history of veterans in northeastern Minnesota. And the way we do that is events, exhibits, programs, projects, publications, and education. And the one thing I wanted, which is really topical today, because today's 5 Guy is going to be Mike Coleo, which, as an area person, most people know.
It might be the standout in terms of familiarity.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of those other things we do are education, and the education is we do sponsor a scholarship, which just happens to be named the Mike Coleo Medal of Honor Scholarship. So
very aptly named. So again, Jay Hagen just established himself. I'll go a little bit further and I'll establish what 5 Guys in July truly is. What we do with Jay's incredible amount of knowledge and research with the military heroes from our area. Obviously, the Northland Sports page is a sports talk show, and we've intertwined these military heroics and accomplishments with sports accomplishments from the folks in our area as well. It's been kind of a fun collaboration. I know, again, I always say this is something that you get a great deal of joy from, doing the research to figure out, what these guys did, not only as military heroes, but athletics heroes as well.
Absolutely. And this one was the kind of, like I said, we did kind of the reverse, right? I was finding these guys who were sports personalities, I like to say, instead of heroes, and found out they're military heroics. This time we led with our 5 area Medal of Honor recipients and had to dig to find their sports heroics.
Right, right. I was probably a little too kind with using heroics. Personalities is probably the better way to put it.
So, Jay, the first week we did this, you talked about what makes a Medal of Honor winner. Last week, I think we missed that a little bit. Could you fill in some people on how somebody gets that?
Yeah, the Medal of Honor is the highest award that anybody in the military can receive. Again, it is such a high honor that even the president has to salute a Medal of Honor recipient before that recipient will in turn salute back. So why this area has 5 and actually 6 when we include Major Bong from across the river over in Superior. But we have 6 Medal of Honors recipients in this area, which is kind of
It's like how UMD is Hobie Baker University. This area is just Medal of Honor area.
Right. I mean, maybe that should be one of our shows.
There
right?
you go.
We do the Hobie Baker and Medal of Honor recipients, and that
I like
brings
that.
the sports in.
I like that intertwined, especially from a guy that goes to just about every Frozen Four that there is.
Yes,
You'd have a lot to say about both.
Right, exactly.
The originator, if you didn't know, of Leave Skeeter Alone, the chant in the UMD days is Jay Hagen. But another topic
let's just say it was the Section 18 club. We all chanted that one.
Yes,
so.
it was another topic for another time, but Mike Colaleo is the topic today.
Yeah.
Fill us in. Give us kind of the timeline of who Mike is, and
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, as you said, know, but maybe they don't know the intricacies quite as well.
Yeah, no, Mike actually was originally born up in Hibbing. Most people don't know that because he moved down here at such a young age.
He's the Bob Dylan of Medal of Honor.
Yeah, in fact, I was saying that too. I said, geez, kind of reverse of Bob Dylan, right? No, everybody thinks that Bob Dylan's from Hibbing, but he's born in Duluth, and Mike is just the opposite. Was a known Duluthian, but actually born up in Hibbing. But again, 8th of 9 kids, and moved down here at a very young age. And so ultimately settled in the Raleigh Street area out in West Duluth, and went to Denfeld High School. But he only went for 2 years because tragedy struck the family, and his mother died, and he had to go work in his last 2 years of high school. But in the process, though, he did play football. So he played 2 years of football at Denfeld, and we know he played youth hockey. And he also did some other sports that you guys don't normally cover. He was an avid fisherman and an avid hunter.
Nice.
So I don't know why you guys don't cover
Well,
that more.
the closest thing to hunters is we do a lot of Denfeld. Ask Eric Wolfall.
Yeah, that's right. You do a lot of hunters.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Exactly. If there was a school called Fishermen, then you'd be covering them more.
We can
right?
look into that. The newest nickname, Rock Ridge missed the boat. They could have been anglers, and we would have been fine. Yeah, we'd have plenty of angles to cover them, right?
Oh, that was a good one. Yeah.
Speaking of angles on Mike Colaleo, the angle that I want to take from Mike Colaleo is the scholarship, because you just handed us the written information. I got to tell you that if I went through all of it, we'd be out of time in the segment. But kind of the meat and potatoes, $1,500 scholarship that will be given out. That's a big deal.
That's correct. $1,500 scholarship to be awarded. The deadline is September 29th. We need a 6 to 10 page paper, or 4 to 10 page paper about a local veteran. You'll be put in the drawing, and then they will rate which is the best paper. The local veterans will determine which is the best paper, and that would be the scholarship awarded for.
So, Jay, I see that it says higher education. That's 2-year or 4-year.
Yes, definitely. So if you're going to Lake Superior College, or if you're going to, and it's either for somebody from this area going to another school, or from somewhere else coming to this, one of the local schools here.
Okay.
So, but so it was. I think we're in our 14th year of the scholarship being.
I was just going to say, this has been going for a while. This isn't new to 2024. This is a pretty good annual tradition that continues.
Correct, yeah. And, $1,500. Again, just reach out to me at the vetshall.org or vets-hall.org. My number's 218-733-7500. And I can get you going on the scholarship. We got rack cards and brochures out there that you can see if you want to apply for the scholarship. So
now I want to ask for a little bit of an update on the Veterans Memorial Hall as well, because I know the condition of the place was a hot topic last week. Normally we want to encourage people to come down and take a look at all the great things that you have.
Yes.
Sounded like a week ago that may not have been the best idea. 7 days later, how do we look in that sense?
Well, we're not much closer to reopening at this point, but again, please reach out to me if you can. Just call the Veterans Memorial Hall and come through to me. But I'm we're going to be a few weeks, maybe months even before we reopen. And I don't want to go into any details at this point. I might save that for our last episode.
So the good flip side to that, though, too, is, yes, it's disappointing that, folks can't come down immediately and take a look at the great things that are available. But in a world that so much is done online, you can go to your website and still have some fun clicking around on what's available, correct?
That's correct, yeah. Again, vets-hall.org, and you can go out and look up any one of our 8,600 stores we have of veterans out there.
Wow.
Which will have a ceiling of about 35,000, so we're quite a ways off yet still.
We got some time.
We've got some time, yeah. So, but yeah, we got to talk about Mike though too. And the best way I can describe, he's an Army guy, enlisted in 1944. So this is a couple years after he would have graduated from high school, and but he went into the Army in the European theater. And the best way I can describe it is just to read this federal citation, if I got the time here.
Absolutely.
So, Mike was pinned down with other members of his company during attack in a strong enemy position in the vicinity of Untergrishem. I know I butchered that name, Germany. Heavy artillery, mortar, and machine gun fire made move hazardous, and when he stood up, shouted to his company to follow, he ran forward in the wake of supporting tank fire, and with his machine gun. He was inspired by his example. His comrades advanced in the face of a savage enemy fire. With his weapon struck by shrapnel and rendered useless, he climbed onto the deck of a friendly tank, manned the exposed machine gun on the turret of the vehicle while it was still moving, while bullets were rattling around him, fired at an enemy emplacement, and with devastating accuracy, he killed or wounded at least 10 hostile soldiers and destroyed their machine gun. It gets better, believe it or not. Maintaining his extremely dangerous post on the tank, he forged ahead and blasted 3 more positions, destroying another machine gun emplacement and silenced all resistance in his area, killing at least 3 and wounding an undetermined number of riflemen as they fled. His machine gun eventually jammed, so he secured a submachine gun from the tank crew.
Wow.
And continued the attack on foot. Okay. Now, it says, when our armed forces exhausted their ammunition were ordered to withdraw, he remained behind to help seriously wounded comrades over several hundred open yards of terrain rocked by intense enemy artillery and mortar. So the award given to him by his intrepidity and inspired courage, PFC Colio gave tremendous impetus to his company attack, killed and wounded 25 of the enemy in bitter fighting, and assisted a wounded soldier in reaching the American lines at great risk to his own life. So
Sounds like a movie, doesn't it?
It
Like a
does.
plot to a
I was going to
Rambo
say,
movie.
it really does, in the sense that, you know the phrase first world problems? The things that we complain about, and we're like, man, grand scheme, it's really not that big of a deal.
Right.
When you hear what these people went through, the worthiness of the Medal of Honor is obvious, and everything that they did is a huge deal.
Yep. Very similar story to Courtney last week, and he just basically rallied his troops.
Yeah.
And Courtney unfortunately lost his life in the attack. Mike did survive. He not only got the Medal of Honor, he was also Silver Star, Bronze Star, Purple Heart recipient, and but ultimately did survive the war. He was pulled off not long after that, because it was basically a rush that when somebody heard of the story, it went up the chain of the command, and he got pulled off because he was going to get the Medal of Honor at that point. And so he was awarded that in 1946 by President Truman. And then later on came back home to Duluth and just lived a regular life.
Right, right. Probably needed it at that point from the tales we just heard.
Right, but worked as a longshoreman, had raised a family here, and he passed in 2011. But leaves a legacy of heroics that it's very hard to match.
Downright legendary
term
stuff.
You want to use, yep.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So. Speaking of legendary stuff, we've got 2 more Tales of Legends, episode 4 and 5, hence the term 5 Guys in July. And calendar-wise this year, P.S., it'll trickle into August.
It will trickle.
Give us a little bit of a teaser to close. Tell us who's left on the list.
Okay, well, here's my teaser, because I don't know the order quite yet. I do know the chronological order, but I'm having a little bit of difficulty finding the research on one of these individuals. But I will say one of them's, whoever we select next week, his middle name is Eugene. How's that?
Which is near and dear to my heart for other reasons.
Oh, really? Yeah,
that'd be my father's name.
Yeah, that would be your father's name. So it's either going to be Donald Eugene Rudolph, who was an Army guy who served also in World War II, and had a very similar story to Colio in his bravery, and or Dale Eugene Wernan, who was a Vietnam veteran who, I won't spoil it, but he was Army in Vietnam. So.
Well, Jay Hagen, thank you once again for doing what you do. This is fun each and every time. We may have some information to keep in touch with you about the location of some upcoming shows, so we'll be in touch, certainly. That's one of the beauties of this. I get to talk and see you a lot. It was fun again today. Thank you very much.
Very fun. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, that is Jay Hagen from the Veterans Memorial Hall. And when we come back, another voice, one that I like much better than mine when it comes to Brian's. The PA voice of the Duluth Huskies, Brian Timm, is here. Stick around.
Chicken tacos should only be trusted to chicken professionals. That's where we come in. Introducing Zaxby's new chicken finger tacos. One comes with pico de gallo and creamy chipotle ranch. And the other comes with bacon, lettuce, tomato, and avocado ranch. Chicken experts since 1990. Chicken taco experts since now. Order yours today in the Zax Rewards app. Woo, saucy! Zaxby's.
We'll be right back. And we are back here to close out the Northland Sports Page live at Hoops Brewing. Of course, the shows here continue because from noon to 1, Monster Weekend kickoff, because the Harbor Monsters will host the Ozarks Lunkers tonight, 7:05-ish at the deck. I would say 7:05-ish because, trust me, we haven't been real timely in starting those events, but they've been fun either way. Speaking of fun, this is going to be a fun segment because we love baseball. Dave Cook, you and I both worked with the Duluth Huskies at one time, and now we have the public address announcer for the Huskies, Brian Timm, with us. And in reality, guys, if this wasn't a radio show, this could be a conference call or a convention of area public address announcers that have done a lot of work in this town. And it's fun to talk to you both. Brian, good to see you, man. Always is.
Great to see you guys, too. This is awesome. I always love talking to you guys. I get excited about I know we're going to delve into some different things. So.
Yeah, and let's do that. Let's start with an update on the squad right away because the Duluth Huskies, I'll just say it from my perspective, I can only imagine from yours, the season's flying.
Yeah.
I mean, I started looking at the schedule. I'm like, they don't have that many left. You're in that proverbial stretch run right now.
Yep, 11 games left, and first half of the season, they pretty much 500 ball club. And right now, they're sitting at 9-8, and 1.5 games out of first place. Thunder Bay's in first. It's a team that just seems to get a couple in a row, then lose a couple, then get a couple in a row, and so they have a chance, and they've got some really good hitters. I think they've got a team now that, some people come on mid-season.
Yep.
And so we've got some really good hitters. All-Star games coming up.
Right.
Yep. And we got 3 guys going to that. That would be Charlie Sutherland, MJ Sweeney, and Caden Kratz.
And Charlie, of course, Duluth's own. He's a Minnesota Gopher as well. Duluth East grad. Charlie's one of the best, and kudos to all 3 of those guys for making that game. I know that's a great honor. Yeah. Speaking of honors, it's an honor to be in your position. Both of you guys have been public address guys for the Duluth Huskies. Brian, we last talked to you when the season first was getting going. In fact, I remember talking to you about, okay, Brian, you've got Kids Day out of the way, and you've got the home opener out of the way, and that was kind of it at that point.
Yeah.
Now you've done a lot more. We all know the public address announcing is about finding your groove and finding your comfort.
Right.
And it's different by team and by sport. We're all comfortable on a mic, but when you get a new project, it's, okay, have I found my groove doing this? Yep. Do you feel like you have?
Oh, yeah. Before most of the PA stuff work I've done has been baseball, volleyball. Yeah. It's our game, and you're just constantly going. This one is, you got your reads. You always have somebody coming up. So it's a very slow process, 3 hours long, and now that I've had the reads probably, at least 20 times or so, it's pretty easy, the cadence and everything, working with that, and walk-up songs and the timing, and we talked about that last time. It's good. It's a lot of fun, and I got a group up there, too, that, Hunter, I believe.
Yep.
Great kid, and it's just a lot of fun. And it's a good way to spend an evening. It really, really is.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of it being a good way to spend an evening, how have the crowds been at Wade recently? Because we talk about this almost on a weekly basis about teams in this area that aren't necessarily affiliated with a school struggle a little bit. We're obviously hoping that the Harbor Monsters stay front of mind for a lot of people. Our crowds, James Ness is here again, he's sporting the apparel. Our crowd, I looked right at him. Our crowds have been good.
Too, by the way.
Duluth FC, their crowds have been good. They continue. They're playing at regionals. Congratulations to them. There are a lot of things to do with these various teams in Duluth. I also want to go beyond Duluth. I want to give a shout out to Proctor Speedway. That's been a busy place too. They've had some good things going, and I know the folks that are in charge there. I don't know why Dave Cook's trying to whip me like I'm a horse running a carriage, but are you just bored or what?
No.
Were you trying to get my attention?
Yes.
Okay.
And it worked.
So that was one of the weirdest things to happen in radio. It's not a visual medium, and at that point, I'm glad it wasn't. So what I wanted to say with the struggle that non-school teams have had in Duluth, the Huskies have been on a roller coaster ride, you said with the record, but I'll say it with attendance. Dave and I were there for some record-setting seasons when nightly crowds were around 1,500, 1,600. We've seen times where it's dipped under 700 or it's been around 1,000. And everybody, regardless of their team, is pushing for more community support.
Right.
How do you feel the squad's doing this year in that realm?
Well, we're right about, I would say we're averaging, there's those certain days where they have a certain amount of people and events going on, so that kicks it up a little bit. But I would say the median's between like about 700 and 1,200 and really probably closer to that 700. It's one of those things that it's a West Duluth crowd, mainly
with the stadium where it is. That's I've always thought that
makes sense, but it's like people walk to the stadium and it's a little bit elderly too at times, but that's what I think is fantastic. I love that. But yeah, and to your point about all these different local teams going on, I think it's important that we all try to support each other, right?
And that's kind of where I was going, because you guys had the Harbor Monsters out on the 4th of July, and I saw all the pictures. They had a blast.
Yeah.
I saw tonight for us is kind of all about you guys, and it's going to be very Huskies-esque in the deck tonight. And you're right. I think the support, kind of the brotherhood, sisterhood, however you want to put it, is nice, because I talked to Donnie Ness a couple weeks ago in this building about, is it a problem that it's competition? And he was quick to say it doesn't have to be.
No. I mean, there's, for football, it's, one day a week, right?
We're only sweating Saturday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think
especially last Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were sweating a big time. That's rim shot for Dave Cook right there.
That's all
Here,
right.
let me give you one. There, I owed you one.
That was a good comeback, especially after that loss the first time to those guys too. So that's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. I didn't even know about that tonight too. So that's
breaking
great.
news.
Exactly.
Yeah.
PA announcer not knowing. That's not good. But yeah, they are excited about doing that. I'm excited about again, Duluth FC with soccer. They just had a playoff. They won. I
was going to say they're on their way to regionals.
Right.
The beat goes on with that squad.
Yeah. So again, that's out in West Duluth as well. So I think it's going to be trying to get that Eastern Duluth crowd, Central, a little bit more over there, and not cater to them, but just inclusive and just try to bring everybody together and have a great time, because it's fun. I mean, it's a great way. It's not like super expensive, I mean, it's a good way to spend an evening or a night. And I still haven't made it to the Harbor Monsters, and so my goal is to get there next week. So
all right, well, we'll see what we can do to help you out there. So Dave Cook, since you were whipping me with a headset cord, I'll either ask you what you needed or give you the floor, because I feel like you two, having been in the exact same position for the Duluth Huskies, might have a lot to say to one another.
Actually, there's a couple things I wanted to ask. First of all, one of the really nice things is you haven't had a blistering day yet.
Absolutely right.
Blistering it at Wade is in our area there is just humid and gross.
Yeah, and when you see people, like, there was complaining going on, and when it was 80 and humid, and I'm like, okay, all right, let's just
buckle up.
Yeah, exactly. So
now, when it was 85 in the deck last weekend, that was different. Go ahead.
I heard that it was a little blistering in there.
People asked me if I was nervous because I was sweating on a mic. No, that wasn't it.
No.
So with Pitt earlier and Kasey, we were talking about what players can learn playing in summer hockey in this case. And the wood bat leagues are a little different because there's some obvious change in the tools that they need to learn. But what do you think, as being around your first year, about the league, and what do you think the kids are taking out of it?
I think it's, you think about baseball and like how they're spending their summer too. I think that it's just enjoyable in general, first and foremost, as far as learning something from it, Marcus Pointer is a great coach. Both the Jakes are awesome. But again, you're just seeing more pitching. You're seeing different types. I mean, these kids are, D1 players, D2 players, and it's
you're not seeing anybody's number 3, are you?
No, it's you're seeing the number ones from across the board. So, and which is really interesting to me, because I would say that overall, my evaluation of the Northwoods League, a lot of good hitters. Pitching is a little bit suspect. I'd say at times there's like 2 or 3 that are just ridiculous, and and you can just tell. But overall, I think just, again, those repetitions, that's the biggest thing for those guys. And just keep being out there and playing and making those plays. And
So we are chatting with Brian Timm. He's the public address voice of the Duluth Huskies. I can't stop there in terms of the resume, though, because he's the public address voice for a whole lot of things, especially with the Marshall Hilltoppers, basically everything not called hockey, because that's where you come in, Dave Cook.
But, done it once.
But, Brian, I want to ask you this, because you tell me this all the time, and I guess I want to backpedal. You and I have great conversations as fellow public address announcers. I get a kick out of some who think it's more of a competitive thing. Like, I'm not going to talk to him because I'm better than he is, or vice versa, where we kind of pick each other's brain, or at times just talk about experiences and go, have you ever had to deal with this, and what did you do? But you also tell me all the time, I can do public address like you do, but I can't do play-by-play like you do. That's just not my thing.
Yeah.
So I'll take that off the table. But is there anything as an announcer that you haven't done yet that you want to? And I don't mean like you're doing Huskies games, you'd like to do a Twins game. Everybody knows it. Going to the ultimate level would be an ultimate experience.
Absolutely.
Is there a sport that you haven't dabbled in that you're like, give me a microphone on that one?
What's really funny is you talk about that. My first experience of public address announcing was lacrosse.
Nice.
Way back, the Duluth Chargers.
Yeah.
That was like their inaugural. That was like the first team in Duluth, and somebody I knew their son was playing, and they're like, they need somebody to fill in, and I'm like, sure, I'll give it a try. Shot.
Yeah.
And I think the key to it, and I think that Brian, both of you understand this, you just have to get into it, right? You have to be invested. You're not just reading something. You're trying to get an emotion across. Or up here, which I don't know if you guys would agree with me on this, but trying to get the crowd
100%
into it is always a.
And it depends on sometimes what the sport is, sometimes who they're playing.
Yep.
You really got to coax them, and other times you're trying to shout over them.
Right.
So you can still do your job.
Exactly. But I still would love to do hockey, too, because I just...
plus you only talk once every 30 minutes. You'd be fine. Yeah,
yeah, but it's 0 to 60.
Yeah,
or
but
0 to 1,000.
You get a sitcom worth of a break. You'd be good. That's kind of our running joke together, by the way.
It's like CrossFit versus powerlifting.
Yes.
But and you usually are able to play the music too for the most part, because all you're playing.
The only thing
70s,
that I would be concerned with in hockey, and you brought this up to me before, because you and I know from basketball, if we call a bucket and it wasn't our best work, we're going to get another one in 12 seconds. If you do a lineup or you do a goal and you sucked, you might not get another shot.
Right, especially if you're not quite sure of the positions and you call the opposite, something
But I mean,
else.
if you knew vocally you could do better, but that game ends 1-0, you have to sit on that. Where you and I can call games that are 198, and we got plenty of time.
Right. No, that's a big deal. In fact, the one time that I did a hockey game, I had a spotter because... I mean, it's moving fast, and then you're trying to see, okay, who got the assist, and I mean, it's not as apparent,
See, Brian, for me, that's volleyball. No. So volleyball is so ridiculous.
I remember when you and I did volleyball together, you looked at me and you're like, how are you doing that?
Yep, so ridiculously fast that a spotter or somebody that's whispering in your ears, a huge benefit. People that don't go to volleyball games, you are missing out.
Absolutely.
I'll segue so I'm do the PA for UMD volleyball, and that is high-level volleyball.
I'm thrilled that you do it because you're so good at what you do, but I'm also glad that I don't do those matches because they're fun to just go to.
They are.
There are very few things, all three of us can say this, there are very few sporting events where we get to go as fans anymore because we're always working.
Yep.
College volleyball is one of the things where I'm like, I just want to be here.
Yeah.
I don't give me a microphone. Don't make me score anything. I just want to be here and savor it.
And it's over like that. I mean, it's over. Well, there's some of the 5-game sets type of thing, but it's so intense anyway that you're just completely involved. And that's a good group up there.
There's
it is one sport that I've seen that those freak out moments that are in every game, volleyball freakout moments can cost.
I was going to say, that'll be the end of the match.
Yeah, because it's 6-7 points because the one team has lost their composure, and it's over.
Yeah.
So I want to close with this. Speaking of it's over, we're a couple minutes away from being over as well, and Monster Weekend kickoff will start at noon. Last time you were on, I asked you a question. I asked you a two-parter because I Dan Barrero everything.
Yep.
And you tackled one part of it and said to me, oh, no, I didn't answer the first part.
Yep.
You and I have since talked about it as recently as 2 days ago.
Yep.
Dave Cook was a public address announcer for this team. You are now. In between, there were interns. I told you the last time, and now I'm going to give you the floor to do it. How did it come to be where you got this opportunity? Because the story's kind of neat.
It is. So I actually have to say that Kevin Snyder, who's the athletic director up at Duluth Marshall, my daughter was playing volleyball up there. I mean, I had done the Chargers thing before, but he said we needed somebody for the season.
Right.
And I'm like, sure, I'll do it. Get to watch my daughter play it, and it's probably better that I'm not talking during my daughter playing volleyball.
Certain things you don't want to be mic'd up for.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
So that happened, and so then I've been really continually up there for a long period of time, and then Kevin's son Kasey started to become the assistant assistant manager, I guess it would be, for the Huskies. And so he came up and was started during basketball. He was doing some scoreboard stuff, and I was doing my announcing. And he kind of talked to me a little bit. He said, "Yeah, I'm doing this for the Huskies." He was kind of very, subtle moving into it. And then all of a sudden, he was like, "Well, Mike Rosenzweig is coming up tonight to kind of like see if you're, see how good you are," type of thing. So it was like I'm like, well, why tell me that beforehand?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Let me finish.
Not that it's going to affect you too much, but so anyway, he came up afterwards and he said, "Hey, if you like the job, would you like to have 37 of your nights in your summer taken away and do Huskies baseball?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? That would be a blast." So it was kind of a nice roundabout type of way, and not something I was actively seeking, but it's great. Like I said, I truly enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
It is a blast. It's a blast to talk to you every time I get to. One of these days, maybe we'll get to do a game together. You already said, I have text proof of this, that his dream scenario would be the three of us interacting in the same game at some point. We got to do it today on the radio. This was a good time. Thank you very much.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
All right.
Thank you to voice of the Duluth Huskies, Brian Timm. Thank you to Kasey Yoder. Thank you to Steve Pitoscia. Thank you to Jay Hagen. Thank you to Dave Hoops. Thanks, everybody, for being out at Hoops Brewing. We got to go.
Introducing Zaxby's new chicken finger tacos. One with pico and creamy chipotle ranch, and the other with bacon and avocado ranch. Chicken expert since 1990. Taco expert since now. Woo, saucy! Zaxby's.